Thank you. All right, y'all. Good evening and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me this evening for our webinar episode of Understanding Analytics for E-commerce Business. This episode is a part of the Digital Shelf series, a series created in collaboration with Fund 17, Propeller, Recirculating Farms Coalition, Food Policy Advisory Committee, and MadDIY Marketing. We created this series to bring food businesses together to discuss how we can adjust and adapt to the more digital shelf space, the space that COVID-19 has placed a lot of food businesses into. So tonight we will be discussing the importance of website data and connecting Google Analytics to your e-commerce store. But before we get started, I would like to just have a few housekeeping reminders. Please remember to keep your microphones on mute, as this will be a recorded episode. I just want you to be aware of this. You will get a recording of this episode to you in your email after it's finished. We will also be having a Q&A at the end of this session, so please hold your questions until the end. This will be a great opportunity for us, myself and you, to engage on some of these questions around analytics, and there are plethora, I'm sure, and hopefully I can answer them or at least point you in the right direction. So please stick around until the end. I'm so happy that you're here, and we are ready to get started. So I figured for the vision behind this episode, I operate MadDIY Marketing, and MadDIY is all about doing it yourself, the whole DIY movement. And with marketing, we have access to a lot of tools, digital tools, and as someone who is passionate about small food businesses, entrepreneurs, local food economies, and just local economies in general, I wanted to develop a business to help you as a business do it yourself. Do these marketing, apply these marketing strategies, learn new tactics, feel inspired, collaborate. So that being said, for tonight's episode, I wanted to say that I'm going to be sharing my screen with you, and I'm going to be sharing my personal website analytics account for a few examples, and then I do have access to like a Google merchandising store, a demo account, to also share with you some of these, the visuals and the display of what, say, connecting your e-commerce store to your Google Analytics account, what that will look like. And then you have a visual, you have a place to go if you rewatch this webinar. Hopefully it's helpful in trying to pinpoint some of these metrics and data points for you as a food business looking to develop either an e-commerce store or build and strengthen your marketing strategies for your current e-commerce shop. So with that being said, I am going to share my screen with everybody. All right. If you cannot see my screen, just let me know. All right. So tonight we are talking all about Google Analytics and the metrics and data points that will help you strengthen your e-commerce growth strategies, your revenue, customer retention, customer acquisition, you name it. So we're going to discuss areas of Google Analytics that you could start paying attention to. If you don't have analytics set up, they could be maybe the areas of your reports, your custom reports that you can create, But we're just going to do a basics overview, and so you have the ability to either build on your marketing and e-commerce success. So there is a lot to this topic. So we are scraping the surface, and I tried my best through research and being on Google Analytics, and really finding the platform itself very fascinating, to pull out some of those important aspects of where you should be paying attention, what the engagement looks like. These most important metrics for you, but by no means that these might not be the most important metrics for every business, because when you're looking at analytics, when you're in Google, you are looking to answer a question that is specifically tied to one of your business goals, or to a business goal. What is it that you as an e-commerce shop are trying to achieve? Are you brand new to Google Analytics and you have no data and you just kind of want to start off really strong? Are you noticing that people are abandoning their carts? Are people adding products to their carts, but they're not completing payments? We'll show you where these areas of Google Analytics are, and kind of talk about how you can strengthen either your your acquisitions or your retentions. Do you notice that you don't have a very long time on site? Do you want to increase this time on site? Do you want to gain a bigger newsletter following? So these questions that you have going into wanting to understand your website data, your store data more, are endless, and Google Analytics has a lot of aspects to it to help you answer those questions. So data exists to help you make sense of these questions and to help you make improvements. So Google Analytics is really here to help you optimize your website, which means make it the best, make it the most effective, and deliver a high quality website to your customers. And it helps you as a business owner, as an e-commerce store, it helps you see what patterns are working, what strategies are working or what patterns exist. And then you can, either identify successful or unsuccessful marketing strategies. You can really tap into maybe areas of your website that you could capitalize on. So many things. So hopefully these areas that we're going to go over in analytics, they're hopefully insightful, inspire you to take action, and start thinking about your e-commerce focus metrics, and start to feel a little bit more successful on tracking these metrics. So when I say metrics, I mean any quantifiable, consistently defined measurement of your website performance. These metrics exist within every platform. So on Google Analytics, on social media, in online stores, at parts of your website, your product pages, your shopping cart. They are data sources for interpreting and measuring over a period of time, which you are able to do in Google Analytics. They're here to help you observe and make decisions based on the results that you see or don't see. You may be lacking in some areas of your website as well. So again, there are many metrics to learn. This isn't something you just become an expert at. You really have to go in with intention and keep it relevant to your business and where you are. So again, this will take time, but always approach data with measurable goals. I'm sure you've heard of KPIs. Maybe you as a business, you have KPIs that you already work from. Those are key performance indicators, and these identify the necessary metrics. You identify the necessary metrics to track your KPIs. So like actions needed to achieve, say like increasing web traffic. You can monitor these performances, and then you make necessary adjustments to your business marketing strategies, web design, as needed. So With that being said, I wanted to speak to Google Analytics. I know that Shopify and all of these websites also have the ability for you to, engage with customer data. I know Shopify is really good at abandoned carts and, giving you detail on products that have been very successful in, the last 30 days. That information can be a little harder for you to find on Google Analytics. So by no means is this webinar suggesting to only use Google Analytics. It's just saying this tool is comprehensive, it's free, and it does give you the ability to hold on to data for as long as your business is in existence. So there's really no time cap. Okay, so let's get started. So I wanted to kind of start off just with an overview. This is the Google Merchandise demo account. The data is, for a demo account. So I'm just using it for a few examples. A cool thing about analytics is it has real-time data. You can see, how many active users are on your site. And their locations, traffic sources. This is really great if you've just launched some sort of marketing campaign where you want to see the immediate impacts, or you release a press release about a new product, or you're in partnership with a new big e-commerce shop. The possibilities are endless. So the real time is really great, and then you have your audience, and this is an area of analytics that just gives you the ability to check visitors and different characteristics of your audience, acquisition, getting new customers, behavior on your website, and then conversions through your e-commerce store. We're going to start in the audience tonight and just kind of go from there. So there are parts of Google Analytics where it does require you as the business owner to manually add code to your website for e-commerce tracking, for being able to measure specific goals. Goals in Google Analytics are the ability for you to keep track of specific actions that your users did or didn't do on your site. And so, you do have to set those up manually. So there's a little bit more manual work, but you can cater it to your needs and customize it. So it's really wonderful. But the audience area that we're going to talk about, I wanted to start off with, a part that Google Analytics automatically pulls for you. So in this area, the audience overview, this is just giving you an overview of your audience in the last, say right now we're just using a week. You can, change this to reflect any date period. So we're just going to do a week. And in this area, I just wanted to show you how it kind of pulls over these overview reports. These overview reports exist for every single aspect of each of these reports. So you have, an overview for each section, really helpful in giving you kind of that bigger, broad view. And again, digging deeper is what we're going to do tonight. So I wanted to talk about bounce rate first, over here. This guy. It's important to pay attention to bounce rate because it's the percentage of users who are visiting your website and only view one page. So when we do a more granular look at landing pages and exit pages, I'm just going to pop over there really quickly. So I'm heading over here to behavior, which is a different report section, and I'm going to site content. And then I'm going to just stay on all pages. You can see that there is a breakdown of bounce rate and exit related to a specific page on your website. So understanding this bounce rate can help you improve your website or your store's relevant content. If someone's coming to your homepage and they're leaving, that can be a good indication that your homepage should be restructured, or maybe the content's not relevant from what they're searching for in Google. But it's good to know, because bounce rate shows you that users are interested in your page content. It shows you that they're interested in your product. And, typically, if you have a low bounce rate, that means that you're doing pretty good. And then a high bounce rate. So say, for instance, you created a marketing campaign for a new product, and you're driving people to that product page, and there's a high bounce rate of maybe 60%. 60% of people are only on that page, and then they're going. So high bounce rates just mean that they're not very interested, or the page doesn't feel relevant. So I wanted to start off with those two, because it's a specific page. It's the first page that your customer is landing, and the bounce rate shows you your success at keeping them on your website. So it's also good because if you do have a high bounce rate, you really are just able to look at and see through the customer journey, like maybe that's the wrong page, maybe we shouldn't direct people to that. But it's also helpful with your marketing because you're analyzing individual pages. As you see, you can see traffic sources. You can understand which parts of your strategies are working, where improvements can be made. And it also just helps you optimize your user experience on the pages they're seeing first. So really cool, and then another thing I do want to point out is, within marketing, there's SEO marketing. If there is a higher bounce rate, maybe, the meta tags to your pages aren't aligned. So the return from the search isn't, something that they're looking for. That could just mean that you need to update your SEO marketing strategies. Again, there are ways to look at the bounce rate. So I wanted to go back into the audience, and we're going to just look at the behavior tab down here. So again, the audience is showing us, different characteristics of who's coming and going from your website. Another one that I wanted to point out in audience is the new versus returning visitor. So by clicking here on the new versus returning, you're able to see new, which is someone who's never been to your website before, and then the returning are the people who are coming back. So Google Analytics is great because it shows you the acquisition, the behavior, and then the conversions based on new and returning visitors. Really cool because you can track with the new and returning. They give you insight into if you have say for instance like a higher percentage of returning users. It's important because that means that you're doing it right. Higher returning users over a lower new visitor is the ratio that you want, because it gives you a snapshot that your initiatives or the marketing tactics that you're doing, the strategies, the channels that you're using to bring people to your website are working. But most customers, they don't convert on the first visit. So you do if you do have a higher percent of returning users, that's good because their first visit was really valuable. Your page is doing well. So it's also, worth noting in the returning, if you're only reporting high numbers of new users, this can be an indicator, in the reverse that something's not working. You're getting all these new visitors, but they're not coming back. So you're able to think about that and say, oh, where can I, better my strategies for new visitors or new customers, and then turning them into, the return customers, the retention. I know Shopify does a really great job at providing data on this. And, Google Analytics also kind of gives you all this information as well. Returning customers also don't typically, it's important to remember that they don't typically require a lot of costs to get back, because your business has shown value to them. They trust your brand, and they're the people who are advocating for your business. So just wanted to note those for you as you're looking at your audience. And it's good to say that I think the statistics are around seven out of 10 people are also referencing reviews before they make a product or before they make a purchase. So these returning customers are going to be the folks who are advocating for you. So those are the areas of the audience that I wanted to go through. And then I did want to show you this user flow, because the user flow is really cool. It's a great visual, to check to see where visitors where they go kind of throughout their journey on your website and where they're coming from. And again, the data that's represented here is just through the demo account, so you'll see your own. But it's great at giving insight into where customers are also leaving the flow. So you can see that, this little red area with an arrow going down, it shows you that 2.4 thousand people dropped off, 16.2% of total traffic. That can be an indication that, this page isn't pushing them into that first interaction that you're looking for. And so it illustrates the key touch points that early on in the buyer's journey where, they're exiting your site. And then, you can kind of strengthen that journey by, applying certain tactics to this area. Or in your communications to your customers. So the next area we're going to visit is, we're just going to go down, is the acquisitions. So the metrics in acquisitions are related to how and where your users came from or are coming from to find your store, and which tactics that you're doing in terms of channel targeting, placing your ads, promotions, collaborations, referrals, you name it. It shows you which of those are working and which ones aren't. All right. So this is the all traffic section. It's just showing you, all of your traffic. The channels here are what's driving, will show you what's driving the most traffic. And then you as a business owner can optimize on those channels. So here you can see that it breaks down the default channel grouping. So overall, the traffic is number of people who are visiting your site, and these are how these channel groupings are how they're getting there. And so for example, the direct here, that's when a user directly types your URL into the browser. You have referrals, which is a user is redirected from another site to your page. And then obviously you have organic. Organic is just unpaid. Social, you can break down each of these channels and see how many users are coming to your site. The bounce rate that we discussed, what's the bounce rate for that specific channel? Are you putting, a lot of money in a specific channel? Say you're paying for a lot of affiliate ads or affiliate partnerships and you're not getting a return on your revenue. That would be an indicator that you might want to switch up your strategy and start looking at other channels. So in this section, you can see over here that they have e-commerce conversion rate, transactions, and revenue. That's showing you in relation to the channel. And the conversion rates are the percentage of people who are completing a website goal. In this case, it would be driving a transaction, driving a purchase. And it's calculated by taking the total number of visitors who make a purchase and then dividing that by all the people who visit the site. So it's measuring how many people make a purchase after visiting your site. And all conversions are related to a goal. And the goal is not always a sale. If that's, part of the goal of your business is to increase sales, you can have that would be your conversion rate, but you can always do email signups and adding to cart, making a purchase, etc. So you can contract conversions over channels over time, and see trends, major shifts in time of the year. Again, don't forget that with Google Analytics, you can always change the date, the time, and really look at the data in a granular way, day of the week. Something else that I want to point out as well, in terms of getting a better view, a smaller view, you can use secondary dimensions. And secondary dimensions just further drill down your data, and it helps you segment based on certain criteria. So you can use, the recommended, it's, going to give you device, category, source, medium, source and medium. So you can, say you're curious about which channels are driving from what devices. That secondary dimension is going to give you the device category alongside of the channel. So then you can see, direct desktop, direct mobile. You can see the revenue, the conversion transactions, average time on site. And that really helps you also with the, content and how it's displaying through those devices. So secondary dimension is great, and you can apply it to any report at any time. So let's see, when we're talking about getting new customers, and we're talking about having them come back, it's great to know the channels that they're coming from, but it's wonderful to see the source and the medium. And this just gives a deeper dive from, which is the source, and the how, which is the medium. So the how and the source of how they're finding you and how they're coming to your site. So this deep dive uses, we can use those primary, the secondary dimensions. So, right now we're in the source/medium. If you wanted to just do one, if you just wanted to do the where, you can click on the primary, as your primary source. You can do medium, keyword, and the keyword is how, what's the word that they're using to find you. So these extra dimensions are really great at comparing data, comparing, maybe the content of a campaign or the device, or it's just really great at looking a little granular. If you're wanting to see like how users are organically discovering your store, which is a kind of a very, I love to look at organic, because organic gives you the opportunity to, look into how customers are just finding you on their own. And so it gives you the opportunity to potentially say, oh, they're actually being referred to my site from this news article that was written about me and my delicious product. You could maybe want to, do a little bit more PR work and get another article written about you, because it's you've been able to see some conversions from that. But so if you're, curious about the Google Organic, I will say though that you have to apply a hack to kind of see how people are finding you, because Google Analytics no longer provides keywords for organic search. But there is a way that you can see how organic traffic is finding you by using the secondary dimension in the landing page. So that shows you, okay, they're coming from a search engine, Google, and they're landing on my homepage, or they have an account that they sign into, or it's just a good indicator, a little hack to say, okay, that's where they're going from this Google source, this organic medium. Also something to throw in there, just in terms of tracking, I think it's good time to mention UTM. So when you're doing any kind of marketing campaigns, it's crucial that you include a UTM code, which is an urchin tracking module. And what this does is it's added to the end of a campaign. You know, back in the day when I was doing a lot of newsletters, we would use UTMs for each newsletter that, you know, we're pushing traffic to the website to see which part of the newsletter people are engaging with. And, so you add that to the end of the URL, and it's designed to tell Google Analytics more information about each link and which marketing campaign it relates to. It's just you're able to measure your success of that campaign on a deeper level. And it tracks the performance of the campaign and content in Google Analytics using this UTM code. And Google actually has, if you haven't ever used it before, they do have a campaign URL builder. So you would essentially do the website URL, campaign source, campaign medium, campaign name to help track the success of that campaign. I'll share that in the follow-up email with, you know, this information. So yes, UTM codes, had to mention that. Don't forget them, or else the traffic, the numbers from the traffic, the data is going to be very vague, and it will be hard for you to decipher, you know, where that traffic is coming from. So again, in this acquisition area, the traffic metrics, they help you understand which source has the biggest impact to your website. So you're able to measure the data from the patterns coming from these channels. You can, you know, again, compare them over different dates, you know, and see, you know, what your efforts of your strategies worked, what didn't. And then again, you know, it's great to just track the revenue. It's, you know, it all comes down to the dollar, right? So you can see kind of how your efforts are paying off over in the conversions area. And then, you know, for the channels, if you're seeing, for instance, like, you know, like number 2, there's 2 transactions. The e-commerce conversion rate was 15, if we're just going to use this as an example, and the revenue was 75. The conversion rate for the 2 transactions is higher. It's like almost, you know, it's only 0.1% away from the 0.25 that had 29 transactions. Looking at data like that, you might want to put a little bit more effort, say through that channel that's, you know, can deliver a higher revenue on transactions. So just a way to read the data and to think about it. So again, don't forget to use those secondary dimensions. You know, if you're curious about the device, where they're coming from, location, it's always good just to be able to compare that data. Another area of the acquisition that I wanted to share is the Search Console. So the Search Console shows you, you know, the landing pages, countries, devices, and queries. It provides data on what users see in Google before they check out your site. And it also, in the queries section, you know, if you do have a search area of your website, it shows the queries that people are, you know, typing in to see on your website. And, you know, it gives you the ability to kind of identify opportunities and prioritize efforts that will increase to your site. So again, landing pages are, you know, super helpful to see where your audience is coming in, and you know what the impressions, the click-through rates are, and how their behavior is at that page. Again, looking at the behavior gives you the ability to see if that page is returning relevancy, if they're responding to your products, if there could potentially be some sort of obstacle, if there's a super high bounce rate. You know, always thinking about these metrics. So another one we're going to pop into, lots of information tonight. And again, so excited you're here and hopefully following through. If you do have your own Google Analytics, you know, feel free to use it at the same time. So we're in the behavior tab. And this is overview. So again, every report has an overview. If you're going in to track your metrics, which I recommend, then you can track those metrics using the date that, if you're doing it bi-weekly, you can just change this to bi-weekly when you're coming in looking monthly, so on and so forth. But the behavior, this area tracks your user's journey on site, and specifically what pages they're landing on. So here, if you click on the behavior flow, again, you'll see the landing pages and kind of their journey from where they started, to first interactions, second interactions, and third interactions. And this just really helps you, again, build a stronger experience for your customer. So by analyzing these behavior flows, though, you can pick up, again, on those pain points. You can pick up on those obstacles on specific pages or the content that's being presented, that's potentially taking them away. So it's a good place to come in and check in to follow your flows. All right, so we're going to pop into the site content area. And in the site content today, we're going to talk about the landing pages and the exit pages. The focus on these is that, they're another aspect to Google Analytics where you don't have to set up any, events or add extra code to your website, because they'll just pull in this information for you when you connect your website. So landing pages tell you the activities the activities on the web page where the user lands for the first time. So here again, you're going to see the importance of, okay, my customers, my users are coming in at these pages, analyzing again what we went through a little earlier, the bounce rates, making sure that you're trying to keep the bounce rates below 50%. That's just a recommended, if half of your audience is leaving, it's not very good. So you want to keep that percent low. And if there's anything above 70%, that's a page you should definitely work on. So the other thing in this that is great is the sessions versus new sessions and the acquisitions. It just shows the period of time that a user is engaged with your site. It's a key metric for e-commerce because it tells you whether the page is keeping your user or your customers engaged. New sessions shows engagements that happened for the first time on your site. So being able to break down sessions, and new users and look at those percentages is really helpful. And then something along the lines is exit pages as well. Exit pages can tell you about pain points, again, in your flow, where users are exiting and on what specific page they're exiting on. This is not to be confused with bounce rate, because bounce rate, again, is the users are leaving after one page view, whereas exit page is they've gone through a flow and they've fallen off at a certain point. You can ask yourself questions at that point to figure out, why did they exit here? If people are leaving at checkout, maybe the top question would be, do they trust my website? Am I showing them that I have the verification? That's if the checkout page is the exit page, excuse me. So again, it's just giving you, exit pages are giving you insights into where your users are losing interest, and that can be very valuable with new customers and returning customers. Okay, and we're gonna pop into site search. And again, this one doesn't apply to everybody, but if you do have the ability for users to search on your site, it can show you the terms and or pages that users are searching within your site. So that can be good insights to what users are looking for, and if you're answering that question or not. All right, and the next area we're going to go to is conversions. So conversions are, as mentioned previously, the conversions are taking the number of people who come to your website or make a purchase and then dividing it by the total number of people who visit the store. And we're going to go into the e-commerce section because Google Analytics has a lot of behavior flows and that are really helpful for you when operating a store. So you have the product performance here, you have checkout behavior here, and you have shopping behavior here. Product performance, as it sounds, shows you how your products are performing. And it tracks the revenue from every product. Again, as mentioned earlier, I know that a few platforms like Shopify do a really good job with this. So if, again, that's a lot easier to read for you, by all means, again, Google Analytics is just here to help you optimize and build stronger, websites and e-commerce stores. So the product performance, you can see that it's ranked, by unique purchases, quantity, average price. This just gives you a really great, this data gives you a better understanding of how products are performing, if they're performing well or very poorly. It gives you insights and how you can potentially increase, visibility for that, how many people are ordering, what's the average order number. So you can increase sales for this specific item. Checkout behavior is very similar as well. It's the checkout funnel. Funnels are friends, and with data, you're always wanting to make sure that you're putting people through the funnel. Your sales funnel is one, making sure that there's awareness and interest and then decision and action. Actually, that's going to be quite a bit of the conversation in our next webinar that's happening on December 2nd. It's following the customer's journey. And so these kind of behavior flows and maybe pain points that you might run in, recommendations on how to do that. That's going to be the next one. But the checkout behavior here is a checkout funnel. Let me scroll up so you can just kind of see how it's set up. And the checkout, it shows you how your audience is behaving at the checkout, how many customers complete a purchase, how many reviewed products, did they enter their information, they're dropping off when the payments are due. It really shows you each step of that so that, if you're seeing a huge drop off, at review purchase, well, why is that happening? So this is a great flow for you to be aware of and to check in on. And again, it shows you here sessions and then abandonments. Cart abandonments, I know are extremely important as well. That's kind of the next thing we're going to talk about. But I wanted to say in this area too, you can filter through different types. You can do like device category and see, who's dropping off and, what are they using? These are really great to just get more granular and to compare and contrast, channels, from devices or direct traffic, compare it to social media, because they each have their own function. And then the last one here that we're going to look at is shopping behavior. So the shopping behavior is how your customers shop at your website. And then so it just kind of shows you all sessions, and then it breaks it down into the progression on your website and how many of those end in transactions. And again, it's worth noting, you can always change the time frame that you're looking to measure. If you wanted to compare and contrast holiday seasons, last year's, to this year's, you're able to do that because, you can compare to here, and then you can do previous period. So these reports are really great at checking strategy, or seeing growth of your business and how that was applied. So this area, the e-commerce spot, it's just helping you discover a deeper relationship with your customer, and also your marketing campaigns. Tracking the user engagement and where people fall off. It's just giving you a plethora of data, and that is really helpful in strengthening your return customers. So in the shopping behavior, this area signals, again, people who intend to buy. So it's whether or not they complete a purchase or not. You have using this as an example, you have 2,726 people with an intent to buy a product. If you go all the way down the funnel, only 29 did. So that's just insight into your flow on your store. And this important area to focus on is cart abandonment, as just mentioned. This area would be the difference between the number of people who added an item to the cart and the number of people who completed the purchase. So this is the number of people who had abandoned their cart. And again, you can dive deeper into who these people are, where they're coming from. But looking at this area of analytics, you're able to really use this information to launch like A/B testing, or user testing, say like different campaigns, different landing pages, launching a new product, to see if there are other ways to improve your site and reduce drop off. So looking at these flows in the e-commerce is very helpful as an e-commerce store. And again, as you familiarize yourself, and if you are really familiar with Google Analytics and you have any insights or learnings from your experience with it, please feel free to share that in the comments tonight as well. We're here to have a conversation and engage about this. And I know I could learn from you all as well. As analytics and Google Analytics specifically it's like a whole entire, you can take each piece that we've talked about and fully go in, fully go deep. So again, this is an overview, but definitely, worth checking out all these areas that we talked about tonight. So I just wanted to kind of go over one other area. I know we're coming to the end, close to our Q&A. Google Analytics is going to be launching something that I think has shown to be very beneficial for e-commerce shops, and e-commerce shops of all size. Even if you're a small CPG that sells health and wellness powders or supplements, and that your product doesn't need to be renewed for 60 days, but you've set up a subscription model, and you can introduce new products, but that every 60 days, X amount of customers are going to be getting that product at their door because they've signed up for a subscription model. There's this so this ties into the lifetime value. It's in beta right now in analytics, but the lifetime value is the overall revenue. So based on the data in analytics in your store, it's overall data that's forecasted for a customer that they can bring to your business in the span of their lifetime, or time as your customer or as your business. So this can also help break down kind of the cost per acquisition, or the cost for keeping your customers, because it shows you the acquisition channels and then how much you're paying per user, and it gives you like an overview of the lifetime value of a customer, so you can start to create maybe more marketing strategies to build these customers. So it's just like a pretty cool wealth of information that is in beta, but will be launching whenever the beta's done. Okay, so that was a lot, and I appreciate your ears, and hopefully it all was able, cohesive. But for the areas, that we spoke to, the audience, each of them, looking at the data for each of these areas, audience, it's all about your audience. So looking at data in this area, you're able to, you can look at it at, maybe I need to create content or new imagery, or, that your audience, what they desire, or you're able to get a customer persona just from all of these, the demographics, the interests, the geo. It really helps you understand too who's coming to your site and if you're targeting your customer, your ideal customer. It provides, the audience area, the characteristics, and, clear and concise frameworks of backed by a lot of data of who these people are. And then you can, leverage the characteristics and the data to then increase your engagement on your store, in your store. And then the acquisition, this is also an ability to do content strengthening, because you can see, what users are enjoying and which channels are more successful than others. Strategies here could be like, doing SEO campaigns to strengthen, to get a higher conversion rate, or maybe you need to redesign your UI or UX design for your website, and which sites are bringing in most traffic. So develop ways, to create more referrals. Looking at all these different sites of, what we talked about tonight, I hope was helpful and kind of inspiring how to look at it. And I do want to point out that there are areas of, specifically maybe in Google, let's see, where if you ever have data, oh yeah, here we go, perfect. So it says not set, not provided. So this just means that Google Analytics has no information for this dimension selected, and the reasons for this may vary. So there's, you can do research on that, but as the business owner, you can set up what I mentioned earlier, are these kind of events or goals tracking in Google Analytics. And again, these can be done manually by adding code to the site, or Google has a really helpful tool called the Google Code Tracker, where they can do this for you. So just wanted, to mention that, because that's something that I got really, because I'm like, well, what does this mean? It has all my traffic, like I want to know what it is. So it's, encouraging you to create these goals of what your users are doing on your site, so you can capture more of this data. And one more thing to mention, and could be its own webinar episode, is customization. There's a lot of information on analytics, as we all know. You're able to create your own customization dashboard, custom reports geared to the information, or particularly to your KPIs, that you want to see when coming to your analytics dashboard. Rather than going, from place to place or exporting this report here and there, you can use a customization to pull these data points that and want to drill down into. And so these custom, it keeps it consolidated all in one, and is easily digestible for you and sharing with your team. So that was the last thing that I wanted to mention. And yeah, I will stop sharing my screen, and if anyone has any questions, I can try to answer them, or we can just, maybe if anybody wants to share their experience with going down the data hole. Oh, that didn't sound right. Oh, I do see a question. How would you run A/B testing and monitor this via the platform? So you can do A/B testing through your newsletter. You can do A/B testing through social. Again, it would be applying that unique link to the end of the original link so that Google Analytics can see where this traffic's coming from, what channel they're coming from, what content, what source, what medium, and then you're able to deep dive into that data. And currently, I'm sorry, Jeff, I don't have an example of that. My personal website has no e-commerce, or else I would, but I'm happy to talk with you about that. And,
That's totally cool. Thank you so much. I just wanted to validate the thinking around just using that UTM code across the board, but thanks for confirming. This makes a lot of sense.
And I'm really sorry for the people who were just let in. I did not get any notifications on people in the waiting room. I do apologize. Again, this webinar will be sent to you as a recording for you to reference, to you to go back to. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. But yeah, I really appreciate all y'all for being here. I had a lot of fun. I hope it all made sense. It is a lot. And again, I tried to pool the areas of analytics that if you're just getting started, those are good areas to start, with your own store. Okay. All right, as mentioned in the episode, we have one more episode left in our webinar series in the digital shelf. It is called, we will be mapping the customer's journey to strengthen, again, your marketing strategies, your goals. So please, I will be hosting it again. Please join me if that is of interest of you. We'll be looking at that journey funnel and applying some fun analytics and how to read it. So I hope you'll join me, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. And if you have any questions on this stuff, I am 100% happy to connect through email and to set up, a call to chat with y'all. It's truly my passion, and I love helping food businesses, farmers, small businesses talk, collaborate, create projects, campaigns, look at data. So. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Sorry about that, Bridget. I do apologize. It was positive then. There was related work happening. Well, again, yeah, I look forward to sharing this with you. And if you have any questions or want to connect, just let me know. I'm here. All right. Bye, everybody.